Everything started. Um, so I think as far as my journey is concerned, I started my professional life in 2016, 2016 October to be precise. Musicma was where I joined in the field of decision science, and I think I did some data analytics, business analytics, decision science, all of that there for a year. And the more I did all of that, I realized how all can add up into a product management role, because essentially data science gives you the right tool to solve a problem, and product manager is the one who decides the right problems to solve. So from there on, I started exploring product journey, got into touch with multibhashi folks. When I joined multibhashi, they were some, like, the team was under five. I was the fifth person to join, and uh, the other four, included the founder, were into design and development. So naturally, I think I was doing everything else that is left, be it acquisition, be it go to market, be it sales. So so the role in itself very naturally became a product management role. And from there on, I think by the time my pragmatic journey was over, in fact, I should not say pragmatic journey was over. That journey is never over. But my when my cohort was over, when my course was over, by the same time, I started having discussions with folks at Casa One, and Casa One is a Axel funded furniture tech startup. We are solving for furniture access around a lot of verticals, and we are doing it in United States. So it has been like 3 years in Casa One. Again, luckily, even in Casa One, I was the first product manager, just like Multibhashi. And from there on, I think it has been so far so good. Like, can't complain. The product has grown really strong. The company has grown really strong. And I think we closed our Series B in 2019. We closed some death round in 2020. Even post pandemic, I think the digital acceleration has only been encouraging. So yeah, that's how my journey has been. I'd like to understand more about this batch, this cohort. What are you guys mostly into? What are you guys doing? What's up? How's the energy? I think we can take it from there.
Hi, Kushagra. I am Shantanu. I am working as in B2B technical sales right now, and I've just now completed my learning part in Pragmatic Leaders. I am a student of cohort 17.
Okay.
So post this now, I'm in the job search and job application phase. So
Okay.
my background is in technical sales and in IT infrastructure. So I have around 6 years of experience in that. Thank you.
Got it. So in general, if I have to get a sense of this cohort, like, what are those leading tags that can help me understand this cohort? Like, what's the average work experience like? What's the cohort experience mostly into? Are some of you already into product management, or that's the transition you guys want to make? What's happening on that front?
Maybe Sarika, you can answer it better because I think there are multiple people from different cohorts as well.
Yeah, hi Kushagra. This is Vinika. I'm also from PL. Glad to have you here. Actually, this session is attended by students from multiple cohorts, and we've invited all our cohorts which are running right now to attend your session. So it is a mixed group, a mixed batch with varied experience.
Okay, fair enough. And so how many in this in out of, I think, the 9 or 10 folks who are present in this meeting, how many of you guys are already into a growth role or a product role?
So Kushagra, hi, Srivatsan here. Thanks for the detailed intro. It was quite interesting to know about your journey. So I have been a part of the product side for the last couple of years. And before that, I was into marketing and sales, and I was also managing the entire branch out of Bangalore. So I've got about 9 years experience in marketing and sales, and about a couple of years in product marketing, and also the product management side.
Okay, that's good to know. And for the other folks, what kind of background are you guys coming from? If not growth and product, like what's the leading? I think Shantanu mentioned he's from tech mostly. What about the other folks?
Hey Kushagra, Kanchan this side. Sorry, I joined bit late, but my end, I am into product management, like product journey. For me, it has been started from last 5 years, but not exactly with the product management role. I have into business analyst, then APM. Then from I think this April only I got into actually product manager role. But yeah, not very much deep into it. That's why I'm part of one of the executive program to learn more. And talking about the domain, I have been experienced in publishing domain, ebooks.
Okay, that's interesting, Kanchan. Cool. I think so. Good to know. So I think the sense that I'm getting is most of us here are trying to get our way to product management. So this is what we'll do in this session, right? I'm sure Sarika must have shared an agenda, and in that agenda, what you guys would have seen is that there are concepts around growth, product market fit. We'll talk about few, but the larger point I want to address in this group, and please keep it very interactive because there is no right or wrong answer. But I think the way product management narrative is shaping up in India, I think the kind of product roles which are opening up, there is one concept which I feel every product manager should understand, and kind of understand to its very core, right? And there is no set of books or set of course that will help you get there. What will really help you get there is understanding the DNA of anything you are solving, right? And that's growth. So there is something which I am a very big fan of. There is this one Abhishek Kejriwal. He was a product manager at Pratilipi. I don't know if you guys know him or the company. And from there on, he moved on to build his own startup called Kutumb. So he mentioned something which kind of stuck with me when I was looking for my product role, and I have not seen a better definition of product management. And he defined product management in one line, and that line was product management is growth, right? Everything that a product manager does, directly or indirectly, will add up to growth narrative. And if it is not adding up to growth narrative, then it's not product management. Now the reason it becomes very important for us, if we are trying to break into product management ambit, to understand this concept, is because that really helps you cut the noise, right? Because when you're preparing for so many other things. Like you are reading about UX, you are reading about design, you are reading about tech, design systems, like so many things, right? Like there is and when you start looking into things from growth perspective, that's where the real product management flavor comes into your thinking. That's when something like a product sense comes into your thinking. So let me put I have actually put together a slide, although like I'm not very much a PPT or a slide guy, but let me just do what I can what I can do best in the limited time. So I'm just sharing my screen, and I think that can help. Sarika, for some reason I'm unable to share my screen. Can you help with that presentation?
Hi, Kushagra, are you able to share it now?
I'm trying.
Sure.
I still can't. Maybe if one of the PL guys can just share it and I can narrate it through, that can help.
Sure. Give me a moment, please.
Is everyone able to see the PPT?
Yeah, I think it's on the screen. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to like come back to the point, which is growth. Before me talking about what's there on the slide, I think some of the guys have actually worked in. So I think someone just mentioned that they have worked in marketing as well, right? Before product. Can somebody take a stab on how do you go about defining growth?
I think when each year your revenue grows, that's how we define growth.
Yep. Pretty
Revenue is
simple and
one,
straightforward. Yeah.
revenue is one parameter. Even if your customers are not growing at the scale you want to, but if from each customer you're able to generate more revenue, I think that would be considered as a growth.
100%. So there are a lot of facets, right? Like right from customer growth, user growth to revenue growth. What really becomes very important and central to all of this is how what is growth in context of that company or in context of that startup. And that is where I'm kind of marrying the two concepts, which is growth and product management. Because what a product manager will do is a product manager will bring that context into the picture, right? Growth for Airbnb will be very different from growth for Uber, and growth for Uber will be very different from growth in Netflix, right? Maybe in one of the three, revenue growth cannot be a significant metric for a large period of time, till because the north star is something else. They are trying to chase something else, right? While for the other, revenue becomes very important because of the unit economics. We don't know that totally depends on the context of which problem are you solving, the context of what product are you building. But regardless of anything, if that growth is not happening, then something is wrong. And by growth, it's about that one key metric, that one north star, which is most important for that startup. And that's where the product manager starts playing a very important role. Because what a product manager will do, a product manager is supposed to understand the metric, understand each and every input lever that is going to influence that metric, and then start controlling what can be done tactically as well as strategically to move those input levers, right? So the first slide that you see is a very famous quote by Paul Graham, right? And uh, I am sure most of us know who Paul Graham is, but for the ones who don't, I think Y Combinator is one of the most successful incubator, and I think even Pragmatic is one of the incubees of Y Combinator, and Paul Graham is the founder of it. And Paul Graham has put it very simply that startup is growth, and I think there is a legendary essay on it. Just Google. I'll request everyone in this group to Google Paul Graham's article on startup equals to growth. There is only one article, and it's like the most awesome article which every product manager should read. The reason is, what Paul Graham has done in that article is he has tried to explain what differentiates a startup from any regular business owner, right? And he has taken an example of a salon owner. There is a guy who is running a salon, and why can't his salon be called as a startup, right? And that is where he has introduced this concept of growth, which really makes magical thing happen. And it's pretty evident out there. I think we are, especially in India right now, I think we are breathing very rare air. And the reason I'm saying it is because some of these startups have shown a kind of growth which was not imaginable 3 years back. And all of that has happened in last 3 or 4 months. And it's not a coincidence that all of them are ridiculously hiring product managers, like a lot of product managers. The reason is product managers are very central to that growth. Talk about all the startups who have become unicorn in last 6 months. I think there are some 19-20 in India. Talk about all the crazy valuations that they have managed to achieve. Crazy is definitely quote unquote here, but the point is what those valuations are showing is growth, right? And that's happening because PMs are into the central of it. So what cannot happen is we cannot have a PM who is not understanding growth. We cannot have a PM who does not know how to drive growth. So when startups equals to growth, by going by the connotation of Paul Graham, the natural extension of it becomes that product manager equals to growth, right? Everything else becomes a noise. Can a product manager not do tech design? Yes, it happens in a lot of companies. Can a product manager not do UI UX? Yes, again, it happens in a lot of companies. Can a product manager not do data analytics? Again, it happens in a lot of companies. But can a product manager not do growth? That can never happen. So growth becomes that central that central theme around which any product manager should craft his narrative, be it inside the company or outside the company. So that's point number one. Can we move forward in this slide, please? Yeah, I think we spoke about it. Maybe next slide. Yeah. So now what you see in your screen is just a part of that essay, which I'm sure all of us are going to read after this meeting. But let's now demystify growth. Let's break it down. right? Let's not use this word only for the sake of it, but understand what really growth is. Let's take any startup, for example. Maybe some of, if you guys want to volunteer a startup and we can talk about the growth DNA. Swiggy, cool, awesome. So I think the first most important question that needs to be answered when you are trying to understand growth is product market fit, right? And product market fit is very simple. The idea that whether or not your product is needed by the market. I think it's as simple as that. There is a lot of complication and complicated articles out there, but I think the simply we understand, the better it is for all of us. Now this is where I think maybe if some of us can wear that PM hat, and if I ask this question, if Swiggy has to evaluate whether or not Swiggy has product market fit, think about a PM who has joined Swiggy in 2014, or even before that, when founders themselves are wearing the PM hat. Now, if they have to evaluate whether or not what we are doing has product market fit, how do you think they will go about it? Because that question in itself will start unlocking the growth DNA and start making you the growth first product manager.
I think first of all, they should start looking at the penetration of smartphones and internet, especially in tier 2 or tier 3 cities. And apart from that, they should do some research on, are customers comfortable in getting a food delivered at home, although that was already prevalent when you used to call a restaurant and get food delivered. So these two parameters can be checked initially.
Okay. I think there are some chats which I can address. They might want to understand, I think Babhav has written it. They might want to understand whether there are enough people who want to order food online. Amazing. How do you think you can go about understanding it, Babhav?
Maybe identifying a sample, and then so initially I think it should be a survey, right? So you might have to go to certain malls, you might have to roam at some crowded places, ask people to fill up these surveys. There might be some questions that I'll prepare, and I might ask those people, and then understand, or basically address the risk that I've assumed while basically trying to solve the problem.
I think Shantanu also mentioned a very interesting point, which I will address. He mentioned mobile phones, right?
Yes.
Mobile phone penetration. I'll address that somewhere later in the conversation. So great point, Babhav. But let's try to understand this scenario like this. It has been 2 years since Swiggy has been launched, right? So what you are referring to is, let's say, a pre-launch survey, a pre-launch market understanding to figure out whether or not I should launch my product. Now, what that survey will do, what that market research will do, is help you understand a problem statement, and will also help you understand like how to get first few users. But it has been 2 years, let's say, and Swiggy has done, let's say, close to 100,000 orders. Now, from that point of view, if you are a PM in Swiggy, any of you, and you guys have to evaluate whether or not you guys have product market fit, Swiggy has product market fit, how are you going to do it? What are you going to look into?
So can you define what exactly is product market fit? Because if you have enough number of orders, then it's a product market fit, right? Then people are there to order from your app.
That's a good point, Babhav. But let's say the first $100,000, the first 100,000 orders that has happened on the app has happened because I have kept 70% off in every order. 100 rupees biryani I am selling at 30. So I will get first 100,000 orders, right? Because I have actually kept the first 100,000 orders at 70% off. So will that mean product market fit? Think about it. And before that, the definition, I don't want that we should think about any complicated definition. It is as simple as whether or not your product is needed by the market. Anything more than that is just increasing the complexity. Just from that one line, if we try to understand, we have got the first 100,000 orders, and now as a PM, you have to evaluate whether or not you have a product market fit. If your argument is going to be that, hey, I have 1 lakh orders, I have 100,000 orders, so that means I have product market fit. I am interested in knowing if
you can sustain that volume without running all those offers, maybe that can be
Okay. Okay.
So Kushagra, in this case, out of this 100,000 orders, how many orders are repeat orders in say next week or next month?
Very interesting point, Gaurav. Why do you think that is important to know? Repeat order?
Because if a customer like the offering or the product, he definitely go for the next one. If he don't, then he just skip that. Means just drop that.
Cool. Great point.
Also,
So Kushag,
yeah.
Continue. You were saying now.
Yeah. Also, if the PM and his team can evaluate a few metrics that would help them understand if ordering food is convenient, even if there is no discount for the customer. Because if there is no convenience as compared to calling on phone or getting a number from Just Dial as we used to do earlier, ordering a food through an application is if they can evaluate if it is more convenient for the customers, then I think that's a product market fix.
Good point. I think all of the points are really interesting. I think the more we understand growth, the more we'll realize there is no right or wrong answer, but it is about what indicator I am looking to validate or reject my thesis. So I think one of you mentioned about repeat order, and I think what you are trying to index on is that if there is a repeat in behavior, so which means that my product is needed. That's why the user is coming back again for the second time. But again, yahan pe I'll just put that same argument again. What if the repeat is also happening because there is a 70% off? How? And that's where I think Gaurav, you mentioned, someone mentioned about trying to evaluate what happens in absence of discount, right?
Hi, sorry, can I add a point here? I think it's also about if you look at kind of let's say this as a MVP, also understanding, it's about understanding user personas and then also understanding the market. So say a tier 1 city, there could be more demand compared to say tier 3 or 4 so on cities. And so it's about understanding users or customers and understanding the market and launching it in those market where obviously we kind of assume or we have data to show there'll be a good demand for it.
Yeah, and post
So
yeah.
So Kushagra, I also wanted to add some points. So in 2 years, yeah, we have reached around like 100,000 orders. Like to grow from this point, we need to like analyze our old orders and from which cities our users are ordering from, and also doing a market opportunity analysis, like how big is this market and how much percentage we are getting from the whole like total available market, and are we like growing or still are we in a stagnant phase, like doing a market opportunity analysis and figuring out whether we are growing or not. And also if we can do some A/B testing, like giving discounts to some users in some cities or not giving discount to some users in some cities, and then figure out how things are working, like doing analysis of our old order history and doing some A/B testing and doing a market opportunity analysis, like where are we standing currently after 2 years.
Okay.
This one more thing which I wanted to add is it so all the metrics such as the number of users acquired during a period of time, and then number of repeat orders. So all these metrics are increasing, whereas your marketing cost is decreasing, and then your acquisition costs are decreasing. Is it what indicate towards a product market fit, that your product is fit to the market?
So those are exactly the questions you have to answer then as a PM, right? Again, I'm trying to shy away from exact solutioning because there is no exact solutioning, but like there are 3 to 4 very interesting points. I think Divyam talk about growth rate, right? My point to Divyam will be that think deeper, that why do you think growth rate can be an indicative of can be an indication of product market fit, and can there be a product with product market fit but let's say not a good growth rate? That's one. Second, I think Gaurav, very good point on what happens in absence of um, um, what happened in absence of discount. I think some Gaurav or somebody else mentioned it, and A/B testing that. And also what becomes very important in all of this is And that's the larger point I'm trying to drive. Because there will be no right answer or wrong answer. As a PM, we need to come with our own thesis. We need to say that, okay, for me, the determinant of product market fit is going to be growth rate. And the reason that for that is XYZ. Or for me, the determinant of product market fit is going to be repeat behavior. The reason for me is XYZ. So like, for example, someone like a, let's say, I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say Airbnb, right? Now, if most users are traveling once in a, like in pandemic, travel has only decreased, but even before pandemic, like repeat rate cannot be a very good indicator for Airbnb, right? Because on an average, people travel 1 or 2 a year. But a product like Lyft, repeat rate has to be higher because somebody is traveling to office daily. So the point is, for different use cases, for different problems that are being solved, different indicator will tell you about product market fit. For some use case, it will be repeat rate. For some use case, it could be retention. For some use case, it could be growth rate. For some use case, it could be, is my marketing cost going down? For some use case, it could be, is with every repeat user coming, am I decreasing my CAC? All of that, right? So the takeaway here that I'm trying to drive is, as a PM, we should have a very strong thesis on what indicates the product market fit for my product, and I should go about rejecting or accepting that thesis. And now the interesting thing here is that we should not do it only when, let's say, a startup is only 2 years into the system, or 3 years into the system. Even if you are joining a startup, even if you are joining ShareChat today, and ShareChat is a unicorn, and like more than like I think their net funding is above $1 billion, if I'm not wrong. So even if you are joining ShareChat today, you should start with that point, because that will help you develop your own growth mindset in that paradigm. So that's my first point here for everyone. Develop your own thesis on how you are going to evaluate the product market fit of that product. Find data, do research, accept or reject it, and start your growth journey from there. Right? Anything else will not help you. Product market fit has to be that 0.0. Cool. Is any points on this?
Yeah. I wanted to know, when we try to analyze our own, when we try to define our own growth path, or we try to define our own metrics in order to see, I think that's a kind of hit and try, because we need to we need to keep on experimenting in order to understand what can be the right parameters in order to, which really matters when it comes to growth.
Yes.
So, do you think, I mean, how can we think about it in order to understand how can we minimize the chances of this hit and try?
Yeah. So you are right about
it. And Kushagra, I have a question for you. Like, for an app like Swiggy, the indicators to like analyze the growth, the key performance indicator would be somewhat similar to apps like Uber or Lyft. What's your take on this?
So very fundamentally understanding, as a product manager of Swiggy, if somebody is asking me that question, that should the indicators be same as Uber, this is how I will think. Who is my ideal customer in Swiggy? And then I will try to compare it with who is the ideal customer of a Uber. How close are they? Right? That's one. Second, what am I solving for my ideal customer, and what is Uber solving for that ideal customer? Like, I'm just trying to put a large framework without coming into the solutioning of it. That's my second question, right? So if at all the ideal customer in itself is deviating a lot, then it's hard that it's going to be the chances of the indicators for product market fit being the same is low if the ideal customer in itself is differentiating or is deviating. Let's say in our case it's not deviating. Let's say the ideal customer profile, ICP, for both Uber and Swiggy is same. Then the second question is what problem I am solving, right? And then the third question is what is the frequency of usage of that solution in case of Uber versus.
This is all about brand advocacy, like what we are going to do on Cloud Tester, because 21C or 21D is something like which is going to come later this quarter.
Sorry, was someone saying something? Okay, I think someone got unmute. So the point I'm trying to say, I will first compare the ideal customer profile for Swiggy and Uber. I will second compare the problem I am solving versus the problem the other player is solving. and then I will see what is the frequency of the usage of that solution, mine versus other, right? If I'm solving for flight versus somebody else is solving for food, flight obviously will not be taken 3 times a day versus food will be. So that's how I will try to answer this question, right? That whether or not my key indicator can be same as Uber.
Got it. Thanks.
But are we on same page with the point that why it is important for us to first have a very strong thesis on how I define my product market fit and how I measure it?
Yes.
How I measure it, that I'm not sure. How will we measure it? Because again, as you mentioned, so even if I'm not taking, as you compare flights versus, let's say, Uber versus Swiggy, right?
Yeah.
Or even flights versus Swiggy, I might not take more than one flight in a day, let's say, or maybe in a week. But then why?
Yeah. So then in that case,
retention be more
yeah,
important?
exactly. So in that case, what you will know is that retention is not your indicator, right? In that case, you will know that. So in that case, you have to find the other indicator, which will be which will indicate your product market fit. If retention is not, then what it is? Is it acquisition? Is it onboarding? That is where those other growth concepts comes into picture, which we'll talk about. But there will be something. There will be some metric that will help you find your measure your product market fit. So maybe if we can move to the next slide. Yeah.
Basically, the first step is to identify your customer profile, and then the frequency of them using your solution.
Yes. Whatever you are solving for your customer, what's the frequency of usage of that solution? Whatever you are solving for, like, exactly. So this is again what you see on your screen is again an excerpt of the same essay, which is startup equals to growth, and largely the point that in this guy, our guy Paul Graham is trying to make is that the reason we are moving towards a startup first creator economy is only because of this growth that can give unparalleled dividends to all stakeholders, right? And I think in this same essay there are like multiple examples as well on the kind of unparalleled dividends that people out there in Valley has made in past and what's happening right now in India. So yeah, maybe we can move to the next slide. I think next slide will do. Yeah, I think we just discussed about product market fit and how do we evaluate it. Now, second question. Let's say you evaluate it and you have an idea of, okay, for me, this is my product market fit metric, and this is where I stand. How do you leverage it? How, let's say, again, the same example, you are in Swiggy, this is 2015, your metric is retention, and you are saying that an average user comes twice every week, and that indicates your product market fit. And now, which means you are saying with all confidence that my market has a need in product. What next? Now, as a PM, what will you do? The CEO will say, okay, great, thanks. But what next? What do you plan to do with it?
Maybe taking such steps how we can like increase this rate of like user is so that user can come more than 2 times in a week. Like maybe doing such email push notifications so that there could be some chances that user may open the app more than 2 times in a week,
okay,
or taking such steps.
That's one. What else? What else?
I think
we need to
can
check
create 3-4 kind of user personas, and the only way to leverage the product market fit is to acquire more and more of such user personas as a customer for Swiggy. That is the only way I think we can leverage it. Otherwise, maybe other among us, we can have a better viewpoint also.
Yeah, very good point. So I think once you know that you have a market fit, the only thing that a product manager should focus on is capturing the market, because you know that your product is needed by market, right? So now potentially anything that is stopping you to capture the market is something you should solve for, because when it's pretty simple, right? If you know, if I know that furniture on renting is needed in SF, and there are like there is a $3 billion market out there for furniture rental, and I am only at $500,000, but I know that there is a $3 billion market out there. So potentially, what is stopping me? That becomes a very important question. So which means for you to understand how do you leverage it, the next very important question should be, what is stopping you to now capture your market? And this will then lead to all the problems that you need to solve for. Now this is where someone mentioned acquisition. Someone mentioned increasing repeat behavior. If it is 2 out of 7, let's make it 3 out of 7. it could be increasing order size. It could be increasing. It could be just going pan India. Right now in 2015, if Swiggy is only in 5 nations, let's make it 5 cities. Let's make it 25 cities. So the idea is that go deep and think of all the problem that is stopping you now to capture the market and start solving it. So now this time, if I again ask the same question, how do you leverage it? Try not to think from a solution point of view, but how will you go about defining the problems, which if you solve, you will capture the market? How can you go about that?
Um, Shag, maybe I'm thinking like to understand the type of persona, like who is actually using the product, and figuring out like what all the persona is lagging to use the application, and try to do something for them so that we can bring them to the application.
Okay, fair enough.
And for this,
Sure.
like, so the KPI that we have decided to evaluate our PM fit, so we just need to like take such steps so we can perform on those parameters better. So we can like increase those KPIs.
This
Okay.
addressable market analysis will help here.
What market analysis?
Addressable market, total addressable market, and the product addressable
Interesting
market.
point. Yeah, if you know that your total addressable market is X and you are at something, so yeah, that will help you give you a direction on where to move towards. So now you know.
Can we, yeah, just one point. Can we look for the connected product? Example is the main product offering of Swiggy is food delivery. So can we add grocery or medical delivery to expand the market?
Products have done it in past. Products are even doing it now. And this is again one of the way to unlock growth, which is cracking adjacencies, right? Enough products have done it. So people have done it. So again, there is no blueprint to it. There is no right and wrong answer, but that is one of the way again to crack growth. So I love the fact that the way we are thinking, this is exactly what a PM is supposed to do, is thinking right from where the addressable market is, where I am right now, what I am solving for my ideal customer persona. I think that is what someone mentioned. And for the personas where the adoption is not up to the mark, what all I can do. So that is where now I want to break down everything into 4 very clear steps. And there is nothing which is 5th there. It's only 4th. And that 4th will help you like always be your ground to refer into. Acquisition, onboarding, retention, growth. And by saying growth as the 4th point here, I mean revenue, right? Or conversion. So in next few slides, I'll talk about the 4, which is acquisition, onboarding, retention, and conversion or growth, right? And when you start understanding these 4, what you will realize is that there will be problem buckets in all the 4. Solving them will help you crack the growth that your company expects from you. And that is typically a structure if a PM follows, like regardless of which domain you are in, regardless of which company you are in, regardless of what product it is. I think that's pretty much it. A PM in Tesla versus a PM in ShareChat versus a PM in some other company. Largely, this is what she is supposed to do. So maybe if I can move to the next slide. We can skip this. I think these are mostly some of the examples, but I think we can talk about acquisition in the interest of time. Next slide, maybe. I think this will help. So let's start with acquisition, right? And I'll talk about the 5 things that you see in your screen. It's very important for us to understand it. If in 2015, Swiggy is realizing that the only channel for acquisition for me is Play Store, and in Play Store, what I'm doing is I am running universal app campaigns, and universal app campaigns are giving me download, but every universal app campaign is coming at 200 rupees a download, because the way universal app campaign works, and I think anyone who is into marketing can explain you this. You need to bid on keywords. The keywords here will be food or food delivery or biryani delivery, dosa delivery, whatever is that, whatever are those search terms. And on that, an acquisition thesis has been made by Swiggy that anybody looking for food on Play Store, our app should come on top. And I am bidding against the other competitor, and every time that download happens, 200 rupees is the cost, right? Now, you have realized that for you to scale, 200 is very high. You can't operate at such high customer acquisition cost, and you have to make it 50 rupees. How will you do it?
I think maybe whoever I've already acquired, I can ask them to share this after their things. That might bring the costs down for user acquisition.
Okay. Okay. What else? What else can be done to bring down the customer acquisition cost?
Maybe
Instead
we
of
can start
like
some referral programs where the customer can refer your app and get some cashback.
Okay.
This is also a bit costly, but then it costs lesser than acquiring a customer by your own.
So there is something very interesting which is happening right now. So the reason I'm talking about acquisition specifically here is that what most PMs do, they are not very close to acquisition. They feel that their role starts when a user is using the product, and my job is to build the product. But that's not true. Our job is also to figure out how can we crack demand, how can we get users, how can we crack adoption, right? And that means getting more and more users, and that also means getting more and more users at a cost that is sustainable, right? So I think one of the points which most of you are hinting towards in the attempt to answering this question is, I will make my users drive acquisition for me. I will make them either share the app, or I will have some kind of a referral plan in place. And if you look into most of these consumer internet companies, they have referral in place, right? But I will request here for all of us to even start thinking more first principle here. Who our ideal customer is. Again, coming back to ideal customer profile, ICP. In case of Swiggy, I think there will be 3 to 4 different personas whom we want to target. So Play Store is one way to target it, but we have realized that it's a costly way. What else can be done? What other channels are they hanging on? Are there Instagram and Twitter groups where they are active? Like, there could be a bunch of things that you can think about when you realize your ICP, your ideal customer profile. So I would.
So basically, you can target them based on the persona that you have created, and you can target them on the required channels.
Yes.
Like, so Instagram, so you can select,
crack the persona and figure out, come up with at least 5 theory on acquisition. That this is my ICP, and this ICP is hanging on channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5. On channel 5, she is coming when the need is very urgent. On channel 4 is where I think she is referring to political news. On channel 3 is where she is looking into work related information. So that's how you figure out where exactly your ICP is, and then you plug your offering, because your ICP needs your product. You know that, right? So the way to go about acquisition is always have 5 to 10 acquisition theory in place. That my ideal customer profile will be found on these and these channels doing this and this. So this is where I can talk about my solution. And if you don't experiment into 10 different channels, you will never know the channel that can give you maximum result in minimum like investment. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I couldn't understand the previous point you mentioned about channels. Can you please repeat that, because I'm not able to get it?
Let's try to understand this through example. Okay. Let's take a different example. I think we have spoken a lot about Swiggy. Let's talk about Meesho. You guys know what Meesho do?
Yes.
Okay. And so Shantanu, if you have to, so I think the first thing you will anyway do is try to understand a core profile of the user who is using Meesho. So maybe if you can just very quickly draw it, just 3 to 4 lines, don't go very deep into it. But if I ask you that, hey Shantanu, who is a core user of Meesho? किसके लिए Meesho product solve कर रहा है एक problem? So how will you go about it?
Anyone who wants to start a small business, at home, most probably would be the housewives who are free and who are able to use WhatsApp and an application. That can be a core profile for someone using Meesho, or anyone who wants to start with a small business.
Cool. Okay. So this is what Meesho is solving for. Meesho is giving them a distribution channel. Meesho is telling them you don't have to worry about inventory. Meesho is telling them you don't have to worry about marketing asset. I'll give you all of that. All you need to do is you need to just distribute it in your network. That is what Meesho is doing, right?
Right.
So now let's say you are the PM of Meesho. and I am going to give you $0 for marketing. Let's say I'm the CEO of Meesho and you are the PM of Meesho. I'm going to tell you, Shantanu, मैं तुमको marketing के लिए पैसे नहीं दूंगा, but तेरे को 1000 user लाने हैं Meesho में. Now, तूने जो अभी core profile बनाया, जो persona बनाया, how will you go about it? Where do you think you can find them?
We need to understand user personas only, because anyone who, we need to find out 3-4 personas on the people for anyone who wants to start a business without investing, and who has got a considerable network in order to sell it. So one persona would be the housewives, another persona would be maybe a student living in hostel who has got a bit network.
Student living in hostel. Okay, chalo, let's talk about this. Student living in hostel. So you have defined this persona. How are you going to find them? Where do you think you can find them?
Through academic institutions, obviously.
Awesome. So academic institution becomes one channel for you. Think more.
And also on social media like Twitter, Reddit.
Yep. Social media becomes another channel for you. So now you have identified channel. You have identified social media. You have identified academic institution. I'm sure if you think for 10 more minutes, you will come with 5 more channels at least. So, so now as a PM, what you have done, you have identified channels. Now what will you do? You will have acquisition strategy for all of these 5 channels, which means in academic institution, your acquisition is going to be driven through partnership. You will partner with maybe somebody who drives that academic institution, and that person is going to give you some space on the real estate of the website or the real estate of the notice board. I don't know. You have to figure out what works in that channel. Second becomes somebody mentioned social media. So social media mein, you have to figure out where are those students hanging, what's the behavior, what time are they coming, and what kind of copy interests them, right? What kind of marketing will get their attention for them to sign up on Meesho. So you have to start answering those questions, and then similarly a third channel will make you answer 5 more hard questions. The first channel is making you think in direction of partnership. The second channel requires you to come up with very interesting copy and marketing collaterals for you to get the attention. Third channel will require something else, but every channel has its own moat. And even till you have not experimented with 5 channels, you will never know that which channel is going to give you very good return. And the beautiful part here is that there will be one such channel just सबसे disproportionate results दे देगा, that you have not even thought about, and that will become the major acquisition source for you. So the takeaway here for all of us is that our job starts at understanding acquisition, and not after an acquisition has happened and we are only here to deliver product. No, we have to understand acquisition, and we have to at any point in time keep running 5 to 6 acquisition experiment. And that acquisition experiment has to come from the thesis we are building on our understanding of the core user profile or ideal user profile. It's not a blank thesis. हम ऐसे ही नहीं जा रहे हैं academic institution में लोगों को ढूंढने. हमारा thesis है कि हमारा मीशो का यूजर एक स्टूडेंट है और वो यूजर मिलेगा academic institution में, right? So that's the takeaway here. So this is acquisition. Now I'll talk about second point, which is very important, and that affects growth, and that is onboarding. Can anybody take a stab on what potentially is onboarding? Can somebody try to define it?
So it is about educating or make the customer aware about the key features and how he can get most out of the app or the product.
Awesome. So what do you think will be the let me take an example of Clubhouse. Okay, what do you guys think will be the metric which will help a PM in Clubhouse understand कि यार onboarding मेरा ठीक से हो रहा है कि नहीं? What metric will indicate onboarding? Tell me.
There could be like many metric, like if a new user has joined Clubhouse, how many of them are joining rooms, like are they aware of the features or not? Because the UI or UX of Clubhouse is kind of confusing for new users, to be very honest. And the metrics could be like how many users are joining rooms, and are they like becoming speakers or not? Like do they know which button does what? And there is no proper onboarding feature in the Clubhouse app yet. Like what they guys do, they run a live Clubhouse channel 3 or 4 times in a week, where they conduct a room and they explain the features via audio.
Okay.
I haven't used Clubhouse, but I think one of the metrics can be how quickly a new user is getting converted, but they're completing a core action on the app. That can be
So
one of
what do you
the
mean by quick? Like,
indicators.
are you going to measure the time? Is that going to be your metric?
That can be, yes, that can be one of them. And then the other one can be how many of the acquired users they have completed that core action.
What is the core action? What is the core action in Clubhouse?
These two metrics, I think, can be two
The
important
core
ones.
action is like getting into a room and then becoming a speaker, speaking yourself, and like that is the one of the core action. Like basically how much. Then another indicator could be how much time they are spending on the app as a new user when they log in for the first time, and that could be another metric that we can look.
Okay. That can also be negative metrics. Like if they're spending more time, that might mean that they're confused. Just think.
So first of all, the definition of onboarding needs to be understood by the stakeholders that PM is dealing with, right? So if your stakeholder is again the marketing team or the CEO, you need to first be on the same page that, hey, this is how I define onboarding. If I'm the PM of Clubhouse, my definition is if successfully a user has completed one Clubhouse session, and the session here is attending one Clubhouse event, that's for me successful onboarding. Anything before that is not successful onboarding, right? So now I have a question. Try to understand this, try to solve this, and I think that will give us a lot of understanding. Uber defines onboarding as number of users giving 4-star after first ride. Okay? Uber defines onboarding as number of 4-star or above. Obviously, like 4-star or above after first ride as onboarding. Anything below it is not onboarding. It's unsuccessful onboarding. So, do you guys think it's the right way to think about it? Do you guys what do you guys feel about this as an onboarding metric?
This include the experience of ride also. So I don't think so. This is exclusively onboarding metrics. If the experience of the ride is bad, then the customer can give 3-star.
See, so that's a very important point.
I agree. But then if the experience is bad, the customer will churn away anyway.
Exactly.
So then we can't count it as an onboarding, and that's not a metric to count on.
So Gaurav, the point is that very quickly, Shantanu, I just want to like mention on the point that Gaurav raised. So Gaurav, you can't plug the core deliverable outside of onboarding. You can't do that. The core deliverable of Uber is not me downloading an app. The core deliverable is me successfully completing a ride. So if the driver fucks it up, then it has to be a part of onboarding, because then I will never use Uber the second time, right? So if I'm not using Uber the second time, then you can't tell me that I was successfully onboarded, because the product here is a repeat purchase product. The product is not a one-time use product. So the bigger point here is that what you're trying to do here, Gaurav, is you're trying to limit the definition of onboarding only around the digital product, but that's not the case. In this case, the app, which is the digital product, has to be complemented with the offline deliverable, the offline experience, which is the car and the rider. The car can't be dirty. The rider has to be the driver has to be well behaved. So even those things can't happen. If those things are happening, it regardless of how super the Uber app is, it will not work in their favor. So onboarding has to truly reflect how successfully have you helped your user taste the product at least once, or taste the value at least once. And from there on, the onboarding metric will help you get back to your marketers, your CEO. If your onboarding metric is high, but if your acquisition is not up to the mark, you can tell your marketing team, right, that, hey, if you are giving me 100 users, I am successfully onboarding 70 of them, but you are not giving me enough users. So why don't you up your acquisition game? So onboarding is that leverage that helps you understand how good the product has done the job versus how good anything outside of product is working.
Okay, thanks.
Just a question, Kushagra. So let's say I frequently take Uber rides, but I never rate the driver. So will I not be considered as an onboarded user?
So now this is where you need to again hit take that product manager's hat and think, why has product manager not defined onboarding as somebody just completing the ride, and why has he also included another step there, which is somebody rating? Why has he done that? Think about it. I'll leave you with that thought, because again, there is no right and wrong answer, but some PM in Uber has decided it that way, right? He could have decided successful onboarding as number of users who have successfully completed first ride. That's my onboarding metric. But he has also taken.
But Kushagra here, if my friend is not rating the application or the lorry driver, but this particular ID is a frequent user of Uber, then it will be considered as an onboarding. Don't you think so?
I do. So I'm not the one who has decided that metric. That's the point that we have to understand there is that there is no right and wrong answer here. But as a PM, you need to put your foot down and say that this is my metric and this is the reason. So
maybe the larger objective might be that they want people to get a great experience while riding. So maybe that might be the reason. But again, yeah, correct. I'm not contesting that. I'm just saying since you have already mentioned that.
But you're thinking on very correct line here. And let's say your marketing team tells you that, hey, no, your onboarding metric needs to have user also rating the product, because if they are not rating, they will never refer, and when they will never refer, I will never have more user. But you can tell them back that, hey, even if somebody is not rating, they are coming back, which means my product has delivered the job. So yeah, that's a great point to be. So guys, it's already 8:09. I think I'm running a bit out of time here, and I have a meeting at 8:10. There are two more points I want to talk about, which is I want to talk more about retention, and I want to talk about growth equation. I want to talk about network effect, because understanding all of that in conjunction will help us understand growth.